Hey everybody, how are you? This is Chief Dean Rondeau, and it's nice to be back at the Downtown Grill. To my left is my Executive Officer, Captain Mark Livy, and welcome to another segment of Coffee and Connections with the Chief. So we find ourselves here in early April. Be mindful of 1 April, people. 1 April, April Fools. Be mindful of that. Don't be fooled. And spring is on the way. Of course, I just had my birthday is always on the first day of spring. Always on the first day of spring. So I just turned 58. I don't feel a day over 57. And life is good. Life is good. Things are starting to really improve in the COVID-19 fight. I want to thank everybody for hanging in there and fighting the good fight. Still, masks are recommended, social distancing recommended, sanitize, wash your hands. Remember, these same practices, these basic hygiene practices, also prevented colds. It also prevents the coronavirus, right, which is the family of viruses that the whole family of viruses that the common cold is in. It prevents influenza. It prevents a whole bunch of other pathogens and diseases and viruses from getting into your body. So not just COVID-19. So these are good practices. We learned a lot. Let's keep doing this, right? And we'll just make ourselves a much more healthier society. So we're well underway for inoculations and immunizations. That's going really well. The state of New Hampshire, I think, has really set the bar very high. Other states are not doing nearly as well as New Hampshire, but they will come along. They will figure it out. They will come along. We will make it better, and they'll get there. So just give it time. So all really good news. That's all very good news. I want to thank everybody that voted for the town's operating budget and the 3 police warrant articles. That would be the commissioner's stipend, that would be the cruiser, and that would be the dispatch console. So just let me take a moment and talk about all 3 of those. It was very important to increase, and I want to thank you very much, the commissioner's stipend. And their stipend had not been increased since 2001. So that's a long time. We're talking almost 20 years. So thank you very much for doing that. They do put in an awful lot of work. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes work that goes into managing the fiduciary responsibilities of the Wolfeboro Police Department, and I really appreciate that. It's all designed for better outcomes, and I want to recognize, and it was important to me to make sure that those commissioners get recognized for the good work that they do. The cruiser, we ordered our Ford Explorer. It is a hybrid model, again, a hybrid model, so it's going to work off of gasoline and it's going to work off of electricity. It generates its own electricity, so it's not something that gets plugged in, but it generates its own electricity. So what does that really mean? That means that it stores this electricity. We get tremendous savings on gasoline, on oil, on repair parts. So we're, again, reducing costs, right? We're taking that, which is something that I said early on strategically. We want to take that line on the budget that always seems to be increasing and bend it a little, try to flatten it as much as we can. Now, we'll never be able to flatten it all the way, right? That's just not going to happen, but we can significantly reduce costs, and that's what we're doing. So what you're going to see is greater and greater cost reductions over time, all right? This is over time. This isn't going to be overnight. This is over time. Very, very important thing to do, all right? So that hybrid vehicle is going to last us for a while. Where we have a very good asset management plan right now. We're going to be rotating 1 vehicle into the fleet, 1 vehicle out of the fleet. So 1 vehicle in, 1 vehicle out. The goal is to stay at 11 cruisers, right? That is the goal. We want 11 cruisers. That's optimal. And by doing 11 cruisers, the other thing we get to do is, follow me with this, we get to essentially buy down the depreciation value of that vehicle. All right, so if you do the math on this, It makes sense to hang on to a vehicle for 10 or more years. 10 years is the magic number because you've now recouped all that depreciation that was lost when you buy the vehicle. When we buy a vehicle within the first 2 years, any vehicle, this is a civilian vehicle or a police vehicle, there's about a 30% depreciation within the first 2 years. That's a hit. That is a hit, and that's just the way it works. So in order to do this the right way, you got to hang on to that vehicle for at least 10 years. That, again, reduced cost over time, which is what we want to do. So there's, again, better outcomes over time, reducing costs over time. Smart move. This is very important. So I want to thank everybody that voted for that. I also want to thank everybody that voted for the dispatch console. Very important piece of equipment, very expensive, but we're getting there. The goal is to buy this and, again, hang on to it for a number of years. And then what we will do is we will have a very minor amount of money put into a capital reserve account. So in another 10 to 15 or 20 years, when we have to buy another one, we've either got it completely funded or the top-off amount of money needed to purchase a new console will be minimal. My estimate is that within the next 15 years to replace that console is going to be close to $500,000. So that's a lot of money in anybody's book, and we don't want to have sticker shock, so to speak, to the town. So by putting $10,000 or $20,000 away, we get to take a hedge against inflation, right? Again, another smart move, all about reducing costs over time. So again, I want to thank everybody for voting for that. That was really good. And again, the operating budget, we worked very hard developing, not just myself, but the other department heads and the town administrators, the town manager, and the budget committee, and the board of selectmen. Primarily, they spend a lot of time agonizing and torturing those numbers. As one former selectman used to like to say, we torture numbers, not people. And I think we did that this year. I know the police department budget is very tight, literally down to the penny, the very penny. So very important, but I want to thank everybody for doing that. It's a good budget, and it's going to work for us, and it's going to work for the citizens. And it's going to give us an opportunity to deliver, again, what I call better outcomes over time. One of the jobs that both the captain and I get to do is look at, what are the issues, what are the issues coming down the road, what are the fixes that we need to put in place to address problems that pop up. And unfortunately, some of those problems, some of those issues require resources. Money is a resource. And we have to do that in certain ways. And I know nobody likes to hire new personnel, right? I know personnel can be expensive. We have a pretty good plan moving forward to address issues at the lowest cost possible, but we want better outcomes over time, right? It's all about outcomes and all about getting the right outcomes and doing the right thing by the citizens, returning a good product, right? We are always striving for excellence. We're always striving to do better. We're always looking at how to do better. This is not about status quo. I am not a status quo type of individual. I always want to do better. And how do we do better? And some of that is doing better with the available resources that we have, and unfortunately some of that is going to be, we need to add a little bit more money to the budget or a piece of equipment to the budget to get a better outcome. Because there are two things that I have to do, right? I have a statutory requirement to provide law enforcement to the town of Wolfeboro, right, to provide a safe and secure environment. That's what we're aimed at doing. And also I have a requirement, an implied requirement, to do so in a fiscally responsible fashion, right, to make sure that the budget makes sense and that it's balanced. So that's what we do. We spend a lot of hard time doing that. So again, I want to thank everybody for supporting the police department budget and the town budget. Those are two very, very important budgets that speak to providing a safe and secure environment for the town of Wolfeboro, and I'm very grateful. So with spring on the way, Easter is the 4th, so let's not forget Easter. And May, folks, May is right around the corner, right? Couple very important dates. aside, so I've got several, right? I got Nurses Day. I got to worry about that because my wife's a nurse. I got my wife's birthday in May. I'm tracking, honey. I'm tracking. We've got Mother's Day in May, and then we have Memorial Day, which is very late this year. I think it's the last weekend in May. Is it, Captain? Yeah. So May 31st. There you go. So and folks, after that, hello, summer is here. It's going to be a good summer, right? It's going to be a good summer. We're doing well. We're off to a roaring start. So even though some of the bodies of water may still have a little bit of ice on it, you need to get your equipment off the lakes and off the bodies of water. Make sure all that stuff is summarized and put away for the summer. You can bring it out. You can break it out next fall and clean it up, but get it put away, get it off the ice, get your equipment off the ice and off the ponds and the lakes and the beaches and so forth where it may be stored right now. Mud season is on the way. We know that we have April showers, which bring May flowers. They're on the way, so get ready for some wet weather. That means making sure your drains and your waterways are cleared of the leaves and debris from the winter storms. Make sure all of that stuff is free of obstructions, so you don't have any water backups and water buildups. Beyond that, we're just looking forward to a great summer. We're looking forward to a return to normalcy. And with that, we still have some precautions that we have to take. So we want to be guarded moving in, okay? We know we have at least 3 separate super spreader variants of the COVID-19. So the good news is that the vaccinations, last I knew, are rated to protect individuals against those super spreader variants. But we still have these super spreader variants out there, so we need to be very careful. So again, basics win. Do all the things that the CDC is telling you to do. Wear masks, use hand sanitizers, wash your hands frequently, maintain social distancing. That being said, let's have a great summer. We're moving toward herd immunity, and pretty soon we're going to be out of this threat, and this will be just a distant memory, and we'll be looking back at it going, oh my gosh, how did we ever do that? We did it because we cooperated, because we looked out after each other, right, and we were concerned about public safety, so very important stuff. Now I'm going to turn it over to Captain Mark Livy, who's going to give you a quick status update on operations in the Wolfeboro Police Department. Captain?
Thanks, Chief. And to add a little bit more to the cruiser that was ordered, the hybrid model, so everyone understands. So we ordered that in April, and I think we've touched on this before, is that by the time we actually receive this vehicle, it's not until September, October maybe, which is amazing. I mean, we're ordering it in April. Most cars are, 12 weeks, 8 to 12 weeks to get built. Ours are 6 months, 7 months, or longer. And then we have to get the upfitting, which then it goes down to Nevo, which is down in the Portsmouth area. And that... Yeah, so the upfitting is all your lights, your consoles, your radios, your switches, your computers, everything that's inside the vehicle for the officer to perform their job. That's because a vehicle just comes like every other vehicle that you order. Everyone out there that orders a regular vehicle from the lot, that's what it kind of looks like. And then we have to put everything inside the vehicle to perform our job. So that's really what the upfitting equipment is. So it's all the equipment to do our job that's inside a vehicle, all the lights, inside lights, interior lights, console, like I said, the switches, flashlights, computers, computer stands. It's everything that we do. So that's what the upfitting is, and that does take time to get it in there. So that's usually another possibly 2 to 4 weeks by the time we get it back. So sometime in November we actually receive this new vehicle, and it's ready for the road for our officers for operation. Another thing I want to touch on is April 5th. Right now that's the planned date for the SAU 49 to go back to 5-day in person for the kids. So what does that mean? So right now they're doing a hybrid model and remote. So you have your cohort A is Monday, Tuesday, your cohort B is Thursday, Friday, and Wednesday is a remote day. So when you put that to 5 in person, now we're back into traffic. We're going to have an increase of traffic going up to the high school, middle school, and that whole area, and Crescent Lake at the different hours, and with Carpenter School. So you're going to see the increased traffic in the mornings, and you're going to see the increased traffic in the afternoon. So just prepare yourself for that. If you're going back to work, if you're going to work, going past the school, it's going to be back to normal as what normal can be, as it was probably 2 years ago. They still have remote options, so you won't have the full traffic as we normally do, but there is going to be an increased traffic that we will see on our roadways. So be careful with that and give yourself a little bit more time. With Carpenter School, so I did meet with the Carpenter School, and I know they're going to be sending this out very soon, or I already have. But the plan that we kind of designed is, I know how the kids go into the back of the school for drop-off. We're going to keep that plan in the mornings, but in the afternoon it's going to be a little change. So everything's going to be, pickup is going to be in the front. So you won't see the buses in the front, you'll see the buses in the back in the afternoon. What does that mean? You're going to see a lot more foot traffic out on the streets. We're still going to have our school crossing officer that's out there directing traffic on our crosswalks for that, but you're just going to see a lot more foot traffic in the afternoon for Carpenter School on South Main Street, so just be aware of that. So with highway safety grants, we were lucky enough to get additional funds for the highway safety. So what that means is more shifts for certain things. Speed, distracted driving, DWI, which is driving while intoxicated grants. That's what it's geared towards. But really, when the officer's out there, it's geared for safety for the roadways. So if you're violating any of those, speed, using a cell phone, and please don't consume so much alcohol so you can't drive. Our officers are out there and prepared to make those motor vehicle stops, and whatever comes out there is their discretion. So be careful of that. Be aware of that. You're going to see an increase of officers out there pulling vehicles over for the highway safety extra duty shifts. With dispatch right now, everything's normal, nothing new that's gone in there. I know coming in April, so really everything's the same. No new hires, no new part-timers in there, so everything's going normal, everything's going fine, everything's going great. I know last month we're having a CPR class for all our officers and dispatchers that would like to take it. Officers are mandatory, dispatchers are optional on that, so that's a class that they're actually taking in the end of March right now, which is a great class. Really, I think it's 2 to 3 years you have to recert on that. So that's something that we do for our officers and make sure that class is in-house. And we're equipped with that option that's out there to help our medical staff at scenes. So other than that, I don't think there's anything other new things that I can put out there that we have that we know, other than in April, we're probably going to have our getting ready for our radar signs that you're going to see out there. We're probably near the end of April, beginning of May, you'll really see them out there. So we have quite a few of them. We're going to be putting those out there based on our data from last year and our complaints from last year. Sergeant Struck is in charge of that, so he'll deploy those radar signs, the ones that actually are into the ground and are fixed for the year. And then we have our radar trailer, which at any time you can give the chief, myself, or Sergeant Struck an email. You can give the PD a call, and if you think you have an issue with speeders in your neighborhood, please let us know. That's the best community policing that we can get, is from you to inform us of the side areas, neighborhoods that we have issues with speeders, and we can get that trailer out there. And what it does, the data that actually comes from it tracks the amount of vehicles that come by there, the speeds at certain hours, which hour is the most concern time for speeders to go out there, for us to get out there, so we can actually get an officer out there during maybe from 11 to 12 is our high commuter traffic at that time, and our speeds are high at that time. So we'll get an officer out there within that hour to perform radar and see what we can get instead of putting somebody out there and guessing. This actually is more efficient of our time and officers' time to get out there, and so they can be in other areas and patrolling the town during the day. So that's a great tool we have. It's a wonderful tool, and we'll keep that up there. So you'll see that at the end of April, beginning of May. Another thing, check our website and our Facebook frequently. I know our website has a lot new forms that we put out there, and especially Sergeant Sparrow is in charge of our website. He's done an excellent job with that. And the forms that are in there, he's actually come up with some new programs, one of them being a camera program, which I think is a great community resource for us with investigations. It's not that we're asking you to view that camera every day and see what's going by there. If we have an investigations, all we're asking you, the public, if you live in the town of Wolfeboro, is notify us that you have cameras within your property, and then we can ask you during an investigation to see if we can view it and help us solve some crimes. It's really efficient, that way to do that. Cameras are a wonderful tool. They're not the end of all tools, but they're a great addition to help with the investigation and saves a lot of time, be honest with you, on the investigation. So that's a great program. Sergeant Sparrow started that. I think it was a couple months ago he put that into. So check our website. Check the new forms we have on there. There's a lot of forms in there that you can take care of and just print out for VIN checks. I think there's issuing bad checks. You can follow the procedures on that. But there's a lot of good stuff on there. Take a peek at that. Look at that. Like our Facebook page, there's a lot of new information on there. There's maybe 5-6 things a day we try to get out there on new information, maybe scams. So Sergeant Sparrow is in charge of that too. He does an excellent job. He's got a little team within the department that takes care of that. So other than that, I'll pass it back to the chief.
Thank you very much. Yeah, a lot of good information there. One last thing I did want to mention, I wanted to thank all those that donated, very generous donators, to the New Hampshire Special Olympics penguin plunge that we did, this was the law enforcement penguin plunge. So if you weren't watching this, go to our website or go to the Facebook page. It's actually pretty entertaining. There were 7 of us that jumped into Lake Winnipesaukee, about 5 March. And we want to thank the De Beers down at Clearwater Lodges for the use of their property as a venue, and the town of Tuftonboro, especially Tuftonboro Fire Rescue, as well as our own fire rescue personnel for helping us mitigate a lot of the risks inherent in that. We raised over $5,000 for New Hampshire Special Olympics. You can still donate if you want to. Watch the video; it's very entertaining. And if you feel you were entertained enough, go ahead and donate. Any amount of money is fine, folks. $5, $10, $25, whatever you feel comfortable with donating. You can click on the link. You can donate to your favorite police officer or dispatcher that participated, or you can make just an anonymous donation to the Wolfeboro Police Department, New Hampshire Special Olympics. But the link is right on there. None of the money goes to Wolfeboro PD. None of the money goes to Wolfeboro PD. It all goes to New Hampshire Special Olympics, and it funds a lot of their good initiatives that they do for children with special needs, so they can have their athletic competitions, and down in the University of New Hampshire, and then some other type of academic and social events that are very, very good for these kids. And so these kids are near and dear to our hearts, so we really do appreciate all of our donors who donated, and including Eastern Propane. That really was a critical piece to my risk mitigation for that event. And as you can imagine, jumping into the frigid waters of Lake Winnipesaukee in early March, there are going to be a lot of cold weather, cold water type injuries that we want to try to prevent. Eastern Propane was critical in stepping up to the plate, saying, Chief, we can support you, we can do this, we can do that, we can help mitigate these risks. And they did a phenomenal job. And it was cold. The air temperature was 14 degrees that day, and the water temperature was 30. So it wasn't freezing because there were bubblers on. We had turned the bubblers on about a week or so in advance to break up the ice. But go to the video. Watch us jumping in, and the captain did a phenomenal job of videoing everything. Wolfeboro Community TV was there, did an awesome job. You can see me going in down the ladder, the slow, painful entry into the cold water, and then you can see some of our dispatchers and officers launching themselves off the dock into the very cold and frigid waters of Lake Winnipesaukee. And I know the captain wants to say something here. Here you go, Captain.
So, as you know, I was a spectator on this because, why do you ask? It was cold. It was really cold. And that water was additionally cold. I mean, it was freezing. So, I mean, I was dressed up in my uniform, winter jacket, winter hat. Oh, actually, I had earmuffs things on, my winter gloves.
Yeah, you look warm.
I was somewhat warm, and I was still cold. If you watch that video, you can feel that wind coming off the lake and hitting that phone, and oh my God, was it freezing out there. And I thank God for Eastern Propane for donating that the warming trailer, because man, when I saw them getting off, as you see them getting out of that water, they were frozen, and they were frozen when they got into that trailer too. Better them than me, I tell you that much. But no, it was a great cause, but boy, was it cold out there, and them jumping in there, and after that, it's an amazing thing. But I was glad I was a spectator at this one.
So I want to thank, this is where I want to thank Chuck Clement, owner of Eastern Propane, Cider Berry, the Community Outreach Director for Eastern Propane, and Jim down at the local office of Eastern Propane here in Wolfeboro. And it is entertaining. It was cold, but watch the videos. They're posted on Wolfeboro Community TV. They're posted on the Facebook page of the Wolfeboro Police Department, and you can probably find them on YouTube. And it was cold. And you know what? I will do it again because it was such a good cause, and we raised so much money. And again, I want to thank you a big thank you to all the individual donators that donated $5 or $10 or $25. We even had a few that donated a couple $100. Special thanks to the crew down at Clark Plaza, Mr. Zimmerman and the office that donated a considerable amount of money to this very worthwhile cause. It's really, truly appreciated. And again, I just a very heartfelt thank you very much to all of those people. So I'm Chief Rondo. I'm going to sign off now. Please stay tuned for your safety tip of the month. And it's hard to believe that we're this far into 2021. Pretty soon in July, I'm going to start construction on the 2022 budget. So it's right around the corner, but it's amazing. 2021 is almost over. Or not almost over, but we're halfway into this thing before we even know it. So that's good. So hang in there. We're beating down COVID-19. Let's keep up the good work in that regard. If you're on the fence about getting your shot, both the captain and I have had our shots, and we're fine. There's no real adverse side effects beyond the kick-in of your immunization system. That's, when people talk about the effects of the shots, and they're not. First of all, they're not that bad, number one. And number two, that's a good thing because your body is showing that it's responsive to the shot, and it's ramping up your immunization to build up these immunities against COVID-19, and that's a good thing. So if you're on the fence about getting the shot, please get the shot. You want to be protected. You don't want this. You don't want this virus. You don't want anything to do with this virus. And there are long-term health effects associated with getting COVID-19. They're just long-term health effects, so you avoid all that. Go get the shot. Stay tuned for your safety tip of the month. And again, this is Chief Rondo with the Wolfeboro Police Department and my Executive Officer, Captain Mark Livy, wishing you folks a very happy Easter. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I am Chief Dean Rondeau with the Wolfeboro Police Department, and welcome back to your safety tip of the month. So we're into April. I know it's hard to imagine. The day's getting longer. The sun is coming out. And pretty soon we're all going to be swimming in the beaches and going down to Hampton, and I know things are getting back to normal with COVID-19 on the downside now, and we're beating the virus into the ground. So a couple of things I just want to mention. Number one, don't rush the summer. It's going to be here before you know it. Be careful if you're doing any type of water activities now that the ice is melting. That water is still pretty cold. Trust me, I jumped in on 5 March for New Hampshire Special Olympics with the law enforcement penguin plunge. That water's cold, and you don't want to succumb to cold water injuries. And we did that. We did that plunge. We had all sorts of support. We had ladders in the water. We had rescue swimmers in the water. We had warming trailers and propane heaters all over the place, so the swimmers could warm up very quickly. So cold water injuries do take a number of lives every year in this state. Please be careful if you're doing any type of early fishing or water activities, whatever they may be, putting your docks in or cleaning things up. Just be careful. Number two, for those ponds and lakes and streams that haven't completely thawed yet, if you still have equipment on the ice or on the beaches, you got to get that stuff out of there. You got to get it off the water, out of the beaches, off that property, and secured for the summer. That's very important. You don't want to leave your equipment or your property out on the lake, because pretty soon that ice is going to give way and it's going to be at the bottom, and there are all sorts of fines and penalties associated with that will come from the state environmental services and Hampshire Fish and Game. Third thing is, we know April showers bring May flowers, right? And we know that. So it's going to rain. It's going to rain a lot, and that's a good thing, okay? But remember, all of the roads still have considerable amount of sand and perhaps even some wet leaves and debris from the winter storms, and we have some very talented work crews, but we have, I think, about 50 miles of roads that have to be cleaned up and maintained. So that takes some time. Usually the roads are not back to what I call normal until early June. So if you're out there, especially in these storms, these rainstorms, and perhaps even snow squalls, the roads will be a little bit slippery because of sand and leaves and debris on the roadway interferes with the tire's ability to maintain traction on the asphalt. So please keep that in mind. Please go slow. Speed issues represent some of the most basic quality of life issues that we deal with, and it's such a simple thing to stop, right, to end. You just go slow. School is going to be in session here soon, on or about 5 April. The kids are going back to school. You heard Captain Mark Libby talk about that under operations, which means that for the last year, you've been able to go to and from your work and daily activities without having to contend with school buses on the road and the Carpenter School crossing, stopping traffic and backing traffic up considerably. So we're getting back to normal. So what does that mean? That means that at least through late June, while school is in session, we're going to have to leave 10 or 15 minutes earlier than we normally did to account for traffic, to account for the kids being dropped off at the various schools, school buses on the road, so forth and so on. Don't get frustrated. This is all getting back to normal. Slow down. Leave a little bit early. That's all you got to do. Just leave a little bit early. I do the same thing. So with that, those are your safety tips of the month for April. Keep up the good fight. Continue to practice social distancing. Continue to practice the hand sanitation and basic sanitation and cleanliness, everything that we've been doing, wiping down and sanitizing surfaces. We still have 3 variants of COVID-19, the super spreader variants. COVID-19 is still out there. Yes, we are beating it into the ground. We are driving a stake through that vampire's heart and pinning it to the ground. but it's going to require all of us to continue to do that. Also, these basic sanitary skills and basic life practices make them part of your daily routine still. This is the reason that very few of us got colds this year. Very few of us, if any, got influenza, because these practices also work against the influenza virus. They also work against the coronavirus. That's the family of viruses that contain the common cold and some other maladies. So practice these skills, right? Practice these things, all right? It just keeps us healthier, all right? So these are good things. Masks are still recommended by the CDC. They're not required, but they're recommended, all right? So continue to follow the CDC guidance, whatever it may be, because it does change very, very quickly. And they could reverse. If they see a spike, they could reverse. So be mindful of that. We're almost there. We're at the point where we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel as opposed to a tunnel at the end of the light. So just hang in there with me. We're all going to get through this together. Thank you very much. I'm Chief Dean Rondeau. That was your safety tip or tips of the month for April. I wish you all a very happy Easter, and I look forward to seeing you all in May. Make sure you tune in again in May. Thank you very much. Have a great day, everybody.